Hi, welcome to the small shed. It's 7 o'clock in the morning. It's going to be potentially one of the record-breaking hottest days of the year in the country, and I'm going to go and walk around in a field in full sunshine. See you in a minute. Go and fill up with fuel first, but when we've done that, I'm off to Morton-in-Marsh in the Cotswolds, just close by Broadway. It's about 40-45 miles away, and I'm going to something that I've had tickets for nearly a year now, and for which I've been looking forward to for a couple of years. And that is the Centenary celebrations of the Austin 7. It's expected, I think, to be probably the greatest gathering of sevens that there has ever been and probably ever will be. They're expecting 1,000 Austin 7s there, and as I say, apart from being pretty much the hottest day of the year and probably the hottest day ever, it should be a good day. They're there all week, so I should be going back and forth during the week. Tomorrow they're at Prescott Hill Climb, which has got fond memories for me as well. So it looks like it's going to be a big nostalgia trip for me. Now, I'm not quite sure what to expect. I really don't know what's going to go on, if you like, what we're going to see, what I'm going to see. I'm not really expecting anything, I suppose, really, other than a day's entertainment today and, say, a day at Prescott. Then I'll be back up until, I think it's Sunday, they'll all be packing up and going. But there is a hope, not necessarily an expectation, but a hope that I might catch up with at least one of the 4 Austin 7s that have got personal connections for me. There's the Nippy that my dad used to have in the 1940s. There's the Primrose, the yellow chummy that I helped Dad build through the 60s, drove it through the 60s and the 70s, and have still got a very fond spot for. And there are a couple of 7s that my brother had, and rebuilt one of them from more or less from the ground up. So if I can catch up with at least one of those, that will be a bonus. And I suspect if I do, that will be the point at which it changes from being a nice day out to something that's probably a bit more personal, if you like, a bit more hitting close to home when you start to get the memories and things like that. There's also a couple of backstories. You know, I love my circularity and coincidence and things like that. So I think it's going to be probably a bit of an emotional week as well as just a bit of fun, if you like, but we will see. They're coming from all over the country and indeed abroad as well. There are a lot of them coming from the continent. I've seen pictures on Facebook groups of people coming from Ireland and Switzerland and, you know, general Europe, all sorts of things like that. So should be a bit of variety there. Just bear with me, I'm sorry. It's one of those things, I've said it before in other videos, Austin 7s are so deeply ingrained into my early years of development with building them with Dad, and all through my growing up years, if you like, into my mid-20s driving them. as a bit of a marker for the future, if you like, for grandchildren and maybe generations beyond that, to be able to see that there are things that I never asked my grandfather, never knew about my grandfather, because at the time you don't know and you don't know to ask. So hopefully some of the things that come back, some of the memories, some of the escapades, if you like, some of the history, if I can put it into the videos, it's there, hopefully for all time, for the family as well. So you'll have to forgive this little indulgence. It's virtually a week solid of Austin 7 as far as I'm concerned. So we will see what happens. It may be a damp squib, but somehow I don't think it is. I've got my water, got my sunscreen, got my hat, got the aircon on, and at least if it gets too hot I can always pop back to the car. The event is being held at the Fire Services College at Marsh, which is basically a training centre for firemen from all over the country, I think. Good day, sir.
Okay, hang on to that.
So pretty much from the second I pulled in, it had become apparent how well organised this whole thing has been. It's one of these events that you don't realise that there's a huge amount of work going on in the background, and an army of volunteers who are all prepared, know exactly what to do, where to send you. The modern cars, it seems to be that we're sneeringly referred to as moderns. All the modern cars were in a car park at the top, and all of the 7s were scattered all over the place. I think a lot of these are people in accommodation blocks. They're sort of struggling to put them in the shade on the hottest day of the year, and some of these folks had been there for the setting up on the day before, I think. But into the main reception, and they've got the start of a display already. Again, there are cars coming in during the week to increase that, but we then went in and got all our goodie bags and checking in and everything else done.
Good day, sir.
Right, good, thank you. You're my first one. So
Oh, brilliant.
I'll just come on at 10 o'clock. So we'll need a scan. I'll put that for that.
That's the one. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Oh, and the bag as well.
Then you need to go
Thank you so much.
there to get your thing like this.
Okay.
1098. I've come over to help.
No, I'm
because
alright
they've-
doing an eye,
Peter Lloyd.
Thank you
It's
very much
only
indeed.
you, yes?
Thank you. Just one.
Yeah,
That's it. Thank you. Singleton. Okay, so I've checked in, all seems very well, brilliantly organised. I've got a folder of information, and I've got a goodie bag, so I'm going to have a quick look through that in a minute. got a nice letter from them explaining stuff in case of emergency. Nearest GP, nearest pharmacy, open times, meals, lanyards to be worn on site. The goodie bag, let's have a look and see what we've been given. So we have an addendum, which is some of the registration numbers and list of entrants. Oh, I see, so there's a list of entrants here. Now that will be useful when it comes to tracing if any of the cars that I know are on the site, because they're all there by date. So by 1930, WD, oh that's not the wrong one, there's another WD there. But I can almost tell without having to go out and walk around whether or not certain cars will be here. By the look of it, Primrose isn't here because that's a WD and it's not on that list. So that's useful, and it's got all the different member clubs. Quite a nice little booklet been produced. A few stories in it. So that's there. We have some adverts for local attractions, which we know about anyway, like the car museum. There's a map of the Cotswolds. It's a little car tag, number on it, which I'm probably not likely to be wanting to use, but never mind. A booklet on Stanley Edge, an exhibition guide, history of the Austin Sevens. Falls open to my favourites, the twin cam racers, and my heroine Kay Peter, who raced the blue normal Austin 7 racer, the side valve, but after whom I am naming my cycle cart. Some suggested routes for runs around in cars, which won't worry me, and a little pin badge. And a rather nice bag as well. So that's a good start. Particularly interesting is that guide, because it means I can go through with a couple of names that I'm looking for of owners of cars, and I can identify what they've got with them. So brilliant. We'll have another drink of water and we'll get back out into the baking sun. As I say, the cars were starting to arrive and park up in rows, although there are also quite a lot of them up in the camping area, and there's quite a few in the trailer park as well, unloading there. But it was beginning to take shape even at around 10 o'clock in the morning. As an addendum, I'm somewhat delighted. I've just been looking back through this. I said that WD815 wasn't here. It's owned by Gavin Boswell, and I've just found what I thought was WD114930, which of course is a nonsense number anyway. That's a chassis number. It hasn't got the full registration number. It is due to be here, so I can catch up with Primrose. That in itself is a huge yeah, that really is going to be something special. So back out in the sunshine, it didn't really take long until I found Primrose lurking under one of the trees in the shade. Obviously inherited some of my lazy ways, I think. But there she was in all her splendour, looking pretty much the same as when I last saw her 50 years ago. So it was very much a heart-stopping moment. I think of the two of us, she's probably aged better than I have. There's quite a lot of things that are different when I look harder at her over the next few days, but essentially she's still just the same as she was in 1972.
On my way out, thank you. Thank you very much. Right, so it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm calling it a day. It's 38 degrees in the shade and there isn't any shade, so I think I'm just about done. I've drunk lots of water, but the heat does tend to get to you. It's been a very strange day, as I half feared and half hoped it would be. I was a bit disappointed to start with because I couldn't find any of the cars in the list of cars that were registered to be at the event. So that went from disappointment to elation, and then of course when I actually found it, that was a bit of a moment. I haven't caught up with the owner yet because he wasn't with the car at any time that I was round it, but I've got 3 or 4 days to do that, and I can always leave a note on it with a phone number and get him to ring me. But I'm going to Prescott tomorrow. I expect it'll be there then. Sooner or later, at some time in the next day or two, I'm going to catch up with him. The important thing really was, for me, was to just see it, if you like, and see the old girl was still alright. So it's been pretty fantastic from that point of view. At the moment there are probably only about 150, 200 sevens on the site. They're just constantly rolling in all the while. It's been nicely controlled in as much as there's been no queues anywhere or anything, tailbacks. They're just quietly ambling in one at a time, one after another. And I think that's going to build and build and build. On Saturday the whole lot of the sevens are going to be there, and that should be pretty spectacular. As I say, they've got over 1,000 coming, so it's going to be quite something to see. So I'm going to call it a day at that for today. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I look forward to seeing you next week. We'll probably be doing Austin Sevens for a week or two now, I'm afraid, but as I said early on in the video, this is something that's very personal and very close to home. So I'll be going back tomorrow to Prescott. We'll probably do a video of that, and I'll be back later in the week to catch